While the public was boiling with outrage, demanding answers every second for the mysterious death of Yu Menglong, somewhere else, deep within a hidden front line, the forces behind the case and the machinery of power were urgently deploying a series of diversions. Rumors began spreading like a perfectly engineered mechanism. A famous star rumored to have died in prison, an actress appearing with a face that no longer resembled her own, and countless meaningless snippets flooding social media as if trying to pull people away from the real story. But what they didn't expect was that their desperation to silence the public would only draw even more attention. Because right at the height of all that noise, netizens discovered a detail that sent chills through the entire community. On Yu Menglong's face, on the right temple near the hairline, a thin, deep mark appeared, looking exactly like a reversed character carved into the skin. Some called it a cut, while others said it was a leaf-carved mark, a method often used to brand victims in underground organizations. If this truly was an intentional marking, it wasn't just a sign of violence. It resembled a symbol, something deliberately left behind by whoever made it. A silent, merciless message. I touched you, and I want the whole world to know it. Today, we are going to peel back each layer of darkness and examine what could have driven those behind the scenes to launch an entire disinformation campaign, just to cover up a small mark on Yu Menglong's face. The mark no one dares to name. Right in the middle of the chaotic storm of rumors flooding social media, there was still a small group of people who chose to remain silent. They didn't argue, didn't chase after the noise. They simply went through the few rare photos of Yu Menglong, the moments everyone once thought were harmless. They weren't looking for scandals. They only wanted to understand how he had really been living through those quiet, withdrawn years. And then, in what seemed like an ordinary photo, they saw it. A small mark near his right temple, thin like a pencil stroke, yet sharp and cold, as if something had pressed into his skin only once, with a steady and unwavering hand. No one knew when the mark first appeared. No one remembered seeing it clearly at any public event before. But when it emerged under magnified light, the first feeling wasn't doubt. It was a tightening in the throat, because this wasn't the scar of an accident. It had lines, direction, intention, and more frighteningly, it resembled the reversed character Chen, a symbol no one could have carved onto their own face. Some fans sat frozen in front of their screens. They zoomed in, zoomed out, watched it over and over as if hoping the mark would vanish at a different angle. But it didn't. It stayed there, stubborn, cold, like a secret that refused to leave. In a post that was deleted after just a few minutes, someone left a chilling comment. This isn't a scar. It's a mark. Something someone wanted to leave on his face. With just that one sentence, the entire community felt as if they had been pulled into a dense, suffocating darkness. Because if it was a mark intentionally left behind, it meant that at some point, Yu Menglong had sat in a closed room under harsh, icy light pouring down on his face. And in front of him, someone must have stood there, holding something sharp without hesitation. Not to injure him, but to place a symbol onto him. A warning, a reminder, a way to make sure he never forgot the boundaries he wasn't allowed to cross. A method cruel enough not to spill too much blood, yet deep enough to carve fear into someone's mind every single day. From the moment that mark was discovered, all the things once dismissed as habits suddenly took on a different meaning. The way he always turned his face to one side when cameras approached, the mask he wore even when it made no sense, and especially his eyes, that brief, quiet avoidance, as if he feared something invisible in the air. Those details were once so small that no one cared to notice. But when placed beside the carved mark on his temple, they were no longer random actions. No one dared say outright that he had been suffering. Those who spoke up could only use vague phrases like "something feels off." But behind that hesitant wording lay a truth everyone understood, even if no one dared name it. Yu Menglong had lived in the shadows far more than he ever let the world see. And strangely, the more people noticed the mark, the more meaningless rumors swirled around him, stories about others, about unrelated events. Noise so loud it seemed designed to drown out every real question, as if someone was desperately trying to extinguish every gaze, every doubt, before they reached the truth. But they forgot one thing: a wound on skin can be covered, but the fear carved into a person's heart cannot be erased. And that small silent mark, lying there without a sound, became the first reminder that Yu Menglong's story still had a hidden part no one had touched. A question mark opening the door to an entire nightmare behind it. The Storm of Disinformation. As soon as that mark began to draw attention, Chinese social media suddenly became strange. Not chaotic because of the truth, but chaotic because of stories that had nothing to do with it. Everything unfolded so abruptly, so quickly, that people could feel it was a deliberate orchestration. One early morning in November, users woke up to see Weibo flooded with a chilling hashtag, Chris Wu dead. Hundreds of accounts posted it at the same time, with the same wording, the same rhythm, as if a switch had been flipped somewhere. Within minutes, the supposed death of another celebrity crashed down like a violent storm, covering everything beneath it, including the rising discussions about the carved mark on Yu Menglong's face. What was strange was not the rumor itself, but the absurd contradictions within it. Some claimed he died from a hunger strike. Others said he was beaten. Still others linked it to an old case from years ago. Yet despite the inconsistency, the shares skyrocketed, not because people believed it, but because they were being forced to look at it. It felt as if someone had grabbed the public by the neck and turned their heads away from the real issue. But the thing that truly made people shiver wasn't the rumor. It was the complete silence of the censorship system. A keyword alleging the death of a high-profile celebrity should have been blocked instantly, yet it was left untouched for hours. Meanwhile, posts mentioning Yu Menglong continued to disappear after only a few minutes. The contrast was too blatant to be coincidence. People began to understand. This wasn't an organic rumor. It was an escape route, a decoy, constructed to divert the storm of public attention away from Yu Menglong. But the decoy was released too quickly, too clumsily, exposing the panic of whoever wanted the truth buried. Even more suspicious was the timing. The rumor exploded exactly when netizens started discussing the reversed shin mark on Yu's temple, as if letting the public focus on it for just a few more hours would reveal something enormous. And so, in the shadows, someone activated their backup plan. Throw another death into the center of the information square, so everyone would look there instead. But they forgot one thing. Yu Menglong wasn't like the names they tried to bury before. He didn't commit any wrongdoing. He didn't cause scandals. There was no reason to smear him. So no matter how powerful the disinformation storm became, no matter how aggressively the messy rumors were pushed to the top of trending lists, people kept returning to the original question. Why release a new death rumor at the exact moment the carved mark was discovered? It was a distraction too crude, so crude that it only deepened the suspicion. And in that moment, the public realized they weren't facing an isolated incident, but a full-scale campaign to manipulate public perception. A campaign big enough to fabricate an alternative death, push an actress into appearing with a face that seemed unfamiliar, and generate hundreds of meaningless stories just to bury a small mark on the temple of a man who could no longer speak for himself. But its effect was far weaker than intended, because the more noise they produced, the more people asked, if there's nothing to hide, why are they this afraid? And that was when every pair of eyes turned back to Yu Menglong, sharper, more focused, and more determined than ever. The stand-in, Ling and the mask that didn't fit. The disinformation storm about Chris Wu's death hadn't even settled when the public was dragged into another whirlwind. This time not about a dead face, but a living one. A face everyone knew, a face everyone recognized. Yet when it appeared on the October 18th livestream, something felt unmistakably wrong. At first, the differences were small, the kind you could blame on lighting, fatigue, or a low-quality camera. But the longer viewers watched, the more the uneasiness grew. It didn't look right. Not in a way that could be ignored, in a way that made their skin crawl. During that birthday livestream, Ling sat before the camera with her familiar gentle smile. Yet from her facial proportions to her expressions, something was subtly, disturbingly off. It felt like watching a reconstruction of her face, not the real person. And then came the strangest detail, the hood. In a brightly lit room, during her own birthday celebration, Ling wore a hood. Not because of the weather, not because of fashion. There was no logical reason for her to cover her head like that, until her hair slipped accidentally to one side, revealing a thin, glossy seam, the edge of silicone. Not skin, not hair, the kind of line only seen on high-grade prosthetic masks. Netizens zoomed in on the screenshots pixel by pixel, and the more they zoomed, the worse it became. The skin on the left side of her neck reflected light like plastic, smooth, flat, textureless. Her ears, normally soft and curved, now looked stiff with thick edges, as if molded. Her jawline appeared wider, with different facial proportions. The familiar mole near her left eye was gone. Her neck was darker, while her face was unnaturally pale, almost wax-like. One user wrote, "She looks like Chen Ling," but in the way an AI tries to recreate a human face. The comment was deleted within 5 minutes. But the most horrifying part wasn't the face, it was the sound behind it. When viewers slowed down the audio, they heard a small sob, thin, muffled, like a girl trying hard not to cry. Many recognized it instantly. That was Chen Ling's real voice, not the voice of the person sitting in front of the camera. It lasted only a few seconds before cutting off abruptly, as if someone had covered her mouth just outside the frame. A comment that survived only 90 seconds asked, if the person in front of the camera is fake, then who is the one crying in the background? No one answered. No one dared. Rumors spread even faster than the Chris Wu is dead story. Chen Ling has been replaced. The real Ling holds evidence about Yu Menglong. The one on camera is a stand-in. No one could prove it. No one could confirm it. But the more people re-watched the live stream, the more they felt something was deeply wrong. And it became even more unsettling when netizens remembered. Chen Ling and Yu Menglong once walked the red carpet together on November 11th, 2020. Yu had bent down to adjust her dress. They performed a four-hand piano duet. Warm, genuine, unforgettable. Now, one of them was dead under suspicious circumstances, and the other might have disappeared, or been replaced by a version of herself. But in a distraction campaign already too obvious, people began to question something else. Was there truly a fake Chen Ling? Or was this simply the third layer of smokescreen, crafted to drag attention away from Yu Menglong? Because in a world where information can be engineered, twisted, and erased at will, no one knows what is real and what is a trap. And that is the most terrifying part. Not the disappearance of a familiar face, but the chilling sense that all of us are being led somewhere, step by step, without ever realizing it. When truth is hidden, questions become the final weapon. The carved heart symbol on Yu Menglong's temple. The storm of fake news claiming Chris Wu is dead. The half-familiar, half-strange face of Chen Ling in her livestream, along with the muffled sob behind the camera. Three fragments that seem unrelated, yet once placed side by the online community. A chilling common denominator emerges. Someone is trying to control what we see, what we hear, and what we are allowed to believe. For Yu, it was a tiny mark, but one that suggested he had been branded. For Chris Wu, it was a death that repeated across social media whenever public attention dug too close to sensitive cases. For Chen Ling, it was a face that no longer looked entirely like its owner. Are these pieces part of the same chain of manipulation? Or merely layers of smoke stacked one after another to obscure a single question? How did Yu Menglong truly die? None of us can answer with certainty. All we have are rumors, pixelated images enlarged to the point of distortion, seconds-long audio clips, and scattered posts that vanish after minutes. We have no independent investigation report, no public forensic files, no transparent hearing that walks through every detail. Yet it is precisely this absence that is most frightening. Because when truth is locked away in darkness, people are forced to trace whatever scraps remain. A scar never explained, a hashtag that lived suspiciously long, a face that resembles yet doesn't match, a synchronized silence across hundreds of accounts. Maybe some details are coincidences. Maybe a few theories online have gone too far. But it is also possible that the clues labeled too far-fetched are simply the last fragments that survived after everything else was erased, suppressed, or distorted. The only thing we can state with certainty is this: the story of Yu Menglong's death did not close neatly, despite what any sterile announcement claimed. Because if it were just an accident, why would there be so many layers of informational smoke? If nothing was frightening, why would anyone who spoke about him for too long end up silenced? If everything were transparent, why have the simplest questions? Where is the camera footage? Who was the last person to see him? Why was there no independent autopsy? Never been answered. In this landscape, everything the community is doing, whether re-examining an old photo, analyzing a live stream, or simply keeping Yu Menglong's name alive in collective memory, becomes an act of resistance against the dark. Because when justice has not arrived, the only thing we can still do is not forget. Not forget that there was once a gentle, clean-hearted young man with no scandals, someone who smiled at his audience with genuine kindness. Not forget that a carved mark existed on his face and no one ever explained it. Not forget that rumors, strange faces, and muffled cries appeared exactly when people began asking too many questions about his death. And not forget one crucial truth: everything we have discussed, the mark, the rumors, the stand-in theories, are only interpretations based on public information and what netizens have shared. We are not concluding anything, nor accusing any individual or organization. But we do have the right and the responsibility to continue asking questions. Because sometimes it is the questions repeated endlessly, persistently, refusing to disappear, that become the only thing standing between truth and oblivion.